graced the competition for the first time. However, the team nearly never made it to the finals due to the SFA penny pinching when it came to arranging transport. 1958, Sweden and the world witnessed emotional scenes from a young Brazilian called Pelé. Because he was only 17, and the opening ceremony in Sweden was over 18s only. And Chile in 1962, a bad-tempered tournament, infamous for the not very nice incident of Nogales, the really quite bad altercation of Asensi, and the Battle of Santiago, when Chile beat Italy by 2-falls to a submission. And so to England, 1966 and all that. Everyone has their own special memories of how they felt that day England won the World Cup.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now. It's 4.
You left it, sonny boy. But officer, he's just heard the terrible news that England have won the World Cup.
Ah, there you go, pal. I'll help you back in.
That's get a leg on that sack, Emma. Give a drink, somebody.
And their own special memory of the tournament itself. The sending off of Argentina's captain Ratin in the quarter-finals and his subsequent argument on the touchline with Prince Philip. Pickles, the dog who found the World Cup after it had been stolen from a stamp exhibition. A man was questioned by the police, but was later released.
I just heard Sir Alf's team plans, and I figured it was the only way I was going to get my hands on the trophy. But you know, it's a funny old game. Sometimes.
Eusebio, struck on the head by a Goodison Park pie, but played on despite the 28 stitches and severe concussion. Or what about the final itself? England versus them. What a day, what a match. What a hash Ray Wilson made of that clearance as Haller sent an unsavable rocket shot trundling past Banks. Then, rather sportingly, the German defence gave Jeff Hurst a free header. In the second half, a tactical switch by West Germany, with Schnellinger on the goal line playing the onside trap, which Martin Peters gratefully fell into. But in the final minute, England opted for a blanket defence formation. Unfortunately, it was a rather threadbare blanket, and Weber found a hole in it. Extra time. Throughout the tournament, forwards had demonstrated it's goals that count. Now it was Jeff Hurst's chance to demonstrate that non-goals count too. And then finally, Jeff Hurst emblazoned his name in the World Cup history books as the first man ever to score a 2-goal hat-trick. Alf, soon to be Sir Alf, later to be Sir Alf Must Go, Ramsey, had kept his promise. England were world champions, which meant that 4 years on, thankfully, they didn't need to qualify for the Mexico finals. And who can forget that classic confrontation from 1970, when the world champions, those Knights of St. George, those Lions of England, roared to a 1-0 defeat by Brazil.
Josino lucky to get past Cooper there. Belay! And Gordon Banks makes a save that we'll be able to show again and again to deflect attention from the fact that England failed miserably in these finals. Tostell puts it through Bobby Moore's legs, but we'll ignore that. Belay! Offside, surely. Josino. Oh, was that a handball? No, the goal is big allowed to stand.
When the match was over, respect between great professionals was mutual.
Cheers, Pell. See you in the final.
I think maybe yes, if you stay out of jewelers' shops.
England versus Brazil in the final. What a mouth-watering prospect. And all that stood between the lads from achieving this was a semi-final with Italy. That was once they disposed of West Germany in the quarter-finals, of course.
And England looking so good in red, which, just to remind you, was, of course, the same colour they wore the day they became the world champions. And there's Mullery, and that's the first. Jeff Hurst, of course, the only man ever to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final. There's Peters, 2-0. Beckenbauer, not bad player for the German, this man. And a slice of pure luck gives Germany a consolation goal. What are England thinking of? They're only going to win 2-1 if they're not careful here. Zayla, it's gone in. Can't be a goal, surely. And unbelievably, the referees allowed such a jammy goal to stand. And here's Grabowski, such a German-looking German, and that won't bother Brian LeBeau. Muller, and Benetti's misery is complete, or is it? A bit of an Italian name, Benetti, or should I say Benito, and we all know whose side Italy were on in the last war.
Sadly, regrettably, tragically, the England-Brazil final was not to be. England were well and truly back home. But if the manager was reluctant to elaborate, then one player wasn't. One player, one veritable giant, who rose from the ashes of England's defeat to touch the nation's heart with a voice strong and true that boomed over the land.
Well, we get beat.
Back in Mexico, Brazil were to win the World Cup for the third time with a team many would later label the greatest ever. But of course, Jimmy Hill had his own views.
Brazil. Are they really that good? Let me start, as I always do, in my expert analysis by slagging off the goalkeeper. Oh dear, he may be called Felix, but he's no cat, is he? Maybe Mac Felix would be more appropriate. We've heard a lot of Rivellino and his free kicks, but come on, anyone can do that if the wall falls apart as it does here. And then, of course, there's Pelé. The best in the world? Well, I'm not so sure. Surely he should have done better with this simple lob. And what about this one? Missing an open goal. I'm not saying Brazil are bad. All I'm saying is they're not good in a not bad sort of way. And that we can still teach them a thing or two.
But not how to qualify for the 1974 finals. There will be no England defeats in that competition because they wouldn't be there. Scotland were Britain's sole representatives in West Germany.
Well, you know, as I say, the biggest problem in West Germany was acclimatising to the beer. I mean, look what it did at George Jordan, as I say.
But you know, as I say, we had some useful players back in '74, boy, as well as a couple of football giants, you know, like wee Billy Bremner and wee Jimmy Johnson.
Against Brazil's total football, Zaire had brought a new dimension to set pieces. Total ignorance. Scotland's fate was in the hands of keeper Kazadi, and he fumbled it. The host nation West Germany had been unimpressive in the early rounds, but saw themselves through to the final by calling up those traditional German footballing traits, moaning about every refereeing decision, and overreacting when fouled. And so to the final itself.
West Germany have Maori goal, probably Beckenbauer on the pitch somewhere too, and most likely Muller as well. And the Dutch have got 11 men with difficult to pronounce names. And there's Jack Taylor, the from England, and what pressure he must be under. Cruyff going all the way, superb positioning by Taylor there, and penalty! Yes, what a superb piece of refereeing by the World Cup final 1974 referee, Englishman Jack Taylor. He really is quite remarkable. A master butcher, you know, and his family own a chain of butcher shops in Wolverhampton. The name of the shops is quite remarkably Taylor's. And by the way, Holland have scored. And Hosenbein had another superb decision by the 1974 World Cup referee, Englishman Jack Taylor. Absolutely amazing. And gone off on the break, he's got Muller in the middle, and the World Cup final referee, Englishman Jack Taylor, is up there too. And Jack Taylor in the perfect position to award that goal. I'll tell you, he certainly gets my vote for man of the match. And so there is Beckenbauer, who remember was in the West German team in 1966, which lost.
1978, and once again, England hadn't qualified. But their misery would soon turn to ecstatic joy because Ali MacLeod's Scotland had. As Scotland rolled into town, the locals turned out to gawk at them, with the young ladies of the village, Bill Nanio, giving them a special welcome. Ali MacLeod couldn't have been happier.
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with all our preparations so far. These here the food could be a bit of in Argentine, so we're flying out our own chef in a big pot of mince. And we also heard the drinking water could be a bit off as well, so we're taking our own supply. We need water anyway. And of course we haven't forgotten the players. No. We've even arranged some spare sponsors for Joe Jordan. And don't let anyone say we're not taking a modern approach to this. Look, bell-bottom tracksuits. What about the revolutionary new gloves you'll be taking with firm grip panels? That's so that you don't drop your pint even with paralytic. And of course the padded panels so that you can belt cheeky journalists without skinning your knuckles.
But despite Ali's confidence, doubts still surrounded, if not the capabilities of the squad, then certainly the capabilities of the goalkeeper, Alan Rough. But Ali was right behind his number one, as quite often his defence had to be too.
No, I'm no daft. No, I stick by Alan Rough. Don't forget that save he made against Wales. Okay, no, it was so unusual for him to actually make a save that John Toczak fainted. No, I stick by Alan because he's all I've got.
Ali's quest for a class custodian of the pokey sent him all over Europe. To Kirkcaldy Starks Park, Raith Rovers versus Inverness Clachnacuddin, where Rovers keeper Finlay McCulloch staked his claim for the Scottish jersey. Ali was swithering. Alan Rough was bemoaning his situation.
I'm hanging about a lot and I have put on a lot of weight, which I can't get rid of.
But determined to keep his place, the overweight Rough demonstrated his commitment with some extra training. But then, scandal.
Yes, well, I mean, they were all shocked. I mean, I knew that as a part-timer, Alan was a bit short of the Eddies, but I'd never have thought he'd have stood so low as this.
Appearing in a blue movie.
Blue movie? It's worse than that. It's a documentary about Partick Thistle.
Alan was desperate. His position was under threat. And let's face it, if your position is under threat from Bobby Clark, things must be bad. Ruffy had to do something to secure his place, and he did. He got a perm. In 1978, perming lotion had become as important a part of a player's kit as shin pads and algae pad. Most players were sensible with their perms. But as always, there were those who OD'd. The results could be horrendous. So Ali's Tartan army were on the march. But what about the opposition? Had the boss done his homework?
Oh yes, tremendous, I'm delighted. If he'd absolutely over the moon. Listen, I wouldn't be doing my job if I hadn't watched extensive home movies of our opposition. See, this is the Peru one. I mean, come on, look at them. They don't even look like footballers, do they? That's Chumpy Taj. I think he's about 58. And that's Quiroga. He's known as El Loco, which I believe is Peruvian for the goalie. I think that's Oblitas and... who's that? Johnny Nash? No. Never mind Scotland worry about Peru. Let Peru worry about us. You let us worry about Iran.
So Scotland headed back to their headquarters to discuss what had gone wrong. But there was no doubting who boss Ali MacLeod blamed.
I mean, there you go. Look, see, here it is. Here it's there. So that's who I blame, Joe Jordan. We did do right scored that goal. Only served to make us really believe all the rubbish that's been written about us. Don't worry, Don. I don't blame you. Watch. See, the keeper moved. I just wish you had as well, Don.
Every World Cup has its shocks. And in '78, it was Scotland who provided the shock of the tournament when they held Iran to a draw. Back home, everyone had witnessed the agonies MacLeod had suffered.
Come on, move back! Come on!
And this was just at the recording of a television commercial.
Oh, why me?
But the Iran game had at last given Scotland a result to be proud of. When the final whistle blew, the Tartan army spontaneously burst into the national anthem. They even waited outside the stadium to wave the team bus off. Meanwhile, in Mar del Plata, criticism of Brazil was mounting. They were struggling to find form with Zico, the white Pelé, half fit, and Rivellino, half cut. In training, they'd struggled to beat a wooden fence. But had done better against another wooden object, Bob Wilson. The knives were out, so Brazil did what they usually do when their team is playing rotten. They blamed the pitches, made accusations of hanky-panky at the highest level, and produced a prize catch of haddies with good-sounding nicknames like Kaká, the beige Pelé, Alberto Balsamo, the neatly coiffured Pelé, Archimedes, the intelligent Pelé, Gaga, the thick Pelé, Valderrama, the spotty Pelé, Oda, the smelly Pelé, and quite Godinho, the no way is he even remotely like Pelé. But when the dust and litter settled, Argentina, with their skillful blending of grit, flair, and playing their vital games after everyone else so that they knew how many goals they needed to score, emerged with the undisputed title, the ugliest team ever to win the World Cup. But for Scotland, the party was over, and the hangover was just beginning.
Ach, well, tremendous. At the end of the day, we did well against the good team Holland and rubbish against the two dirty ones playing around, but that's just us, isn't it? I mean, that's Scotland. What's like us, eh? What want to be?
England had watched it all with envy. Okay, so Scotland had been humiliated, but at least they had managed to qualify for the humiliation. Failure to make it to the 82 finals couldn't be contemplated, wouldn't be tolerated. The current England team was considered a bit past its peak. The emerging youth squad not quite ready yet. The FA decided what was needed, a new manager.
And so, with measured tread, the Holy Father, the Bishop of Rome, the gaffer, moves from the apse down the aisle into the main body of the abbey. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go, oh. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, oh, here we go. And so, we leave this auspicious occasion, the inauguration of Pope John Paul II as the manager of the England football team.
Many felt that John Paul II, with his lack of knowledge of the English football scene, wasn't right for the job as manager. In fact, there was even evidence that he wasn't right for the job of Pope either. But having adopted the nom de soccer of Ron Greenwood, the boss soon caught the fans' imagination with his flamboyant style.
The team is Shilton, Mills, Johnson, Thompson, Butcher...
And he succeeded in attracting new supporters to the game, as England at last qualified. The 1982 finals had it all. Early strugglers Italy had contemplated a new way of taking Maradona out of the game, but in the end decided on a crueler solution, having Romeo Bastardo mark him.
Here's Maradona, and Bastardo, oh, I say, my word, Bastardo again in heavily there. Oof! I'll tell you, Romeo Bastardo really making his presence felt in the first 20 seconds of this match.
Claudio Gentili, that delicate Italian ball player, expressed the anxieties of the Azzurri when he described Bastardo as a crude amateur who's giving cynical fouling a bad name. The Italian management dug in and stood firm for about 5 minutes before surrendering to the team's demands and axing Bastardo. The big Neapolitan was philosophical about being dropped after playing like a man possessed. But how did the British fare? England in their first game missed Keegan, and in their last game, Keegan missed. Ron had finally run out of miracles. In the last World Cup, the Scots had proved the old adage, pride comes before a fall. This time, they proved, for Scotland at least, a low-key build-up comes before a fall too. While Northern Ireland went out on a high, despite allegations of illegal substances being used in training. An estimated worldwide television audience of quite a lot had been captivated by the whole event. Evidence of the box's influence wasn't difficult to find.
Makashaw maha, Ajax Benbecula inochi internationale portri. Fjellsenach total football eg Ajax inochi and Catenaccio system in Charle Inter eg ovel koyo Dunky Macintosh mar playmaker age sam Biashmore Dugi Mad Dog McCutcheon mar libero. Kars maha, corner kick ha Inter portre, she inswinger, o ahon, Macintosh, goal! Internazionale, goal! Macintosh! Ha! Inter in air, hoshaka, haya hasta, early doors!
Mexico 1986. Scotland were there again, and Alex Ferguson was really happy about the squad's attitude and personal hygiene.
As a manager, you get to smell things. It's good. I like it.
In ancient times, the Aztecs had played a game similar to football called Pock to Pock. To win this game was such an honour that the victorious players were immediately beheaded so that they could join the gods. Of course, they don't do that now, although arguably putting you in the same section as Uruguay is just as bad. So out went Scotland, but at least they went down whinging. Their fans, on the other hand, were typically pragmatic about it all.
I'll tell you right now, I hate England, and see if England get to play Uruguay, I'll support England against Uruguay, there you go, and that's how much I hate Uruguay.
England had problems of their own. After an incredible run of 4 injury-free days, Brian Robson dislocated a shoulder when he fell, gashed his ankle by tying his boots too tight, broke his wrist sharpening a pencil. Then his foot came off during some dressing room horseplay. But despite all this, they still made it to the quarter-finals, where they would come up against the magic boots of Diego Maradona. And discovered that God enjoyed a game of Sabutio as well. So, defeated and dejected, our boys came home to reflect back on what might have been, looked forward to the next World Cup, when they could do all this again. And in the case of Scotland's Graham Souness, get some practice in for his new job, managing Glasgow Rangers. 1990, Italia. As the finals approached, tantalising questions swerved in and out of the fans' thoughts. Paul Gascoigne, would behaviour improve now that he had a keeper? Mo Johnston, had he burnt himself out? Andy Roxburgh, what style would he finally settle on? England were ready and taking no chances. A new type of ball would be used in these finals, so following a slight goalkeeping error in a warm-up match, the England camp took delivery of a specially modified version for Peter Shilton. England's first game was against the Republic of Ireland, where the Sardinian police demonstrated vicious cruelty towards supporters leaving the game by forcing them back to watch the second half. In their next match, England were, according to people who know the game and Desmond Lynam, simply brilliant as they thrashed Holland 0 each. But their vital third match was marred by fans who'd ignored official warnings that the food could be a bit heavy. Scotland too were ready.
Murdo MacLeod, what do you know about Costa Rica?
I think they're unknown.
Armed with this extensive knowledge, the Scots took to the field, their hearts inspired by the immortal words that echoed through the glens of their minds.
Know's the day and know's the hour. Again.
And got gubbed. Losing to Costa Rica was a right scunner, by the way. But Andy Roxburgh took the defeat well. Doom, gloom and despondency had descended upon Scotland. Things were back to normal. But Roxburgh knew the Scottish psyche. He knew what Scots liked. So to cheer everyone up, he arranged a squad visit to a funeral. Introduced a new innovative concept to help the strikers find the net. Movable goals. hinted at a World Cup debut for controversial squad selection Prince Edward. Then he played his managerial mastercard. He told the lads to go out and get bevied. Next day, the newspapers were saturated with stories of Scottish players drinking and womanizing at a local disco bar. This was more like it. Taking their hangovers out on Sweden, they slabbered them 2-1. Scotland at last had a winning formula. There was only one thing left to do now: change it, lose to Brazil, and go out in a blaze of dead unluckiness. There had been no lack of effort on the training field, where Robert Fleck had worked tirelessly at improving his looks. But nevertheless, it was to be Arrivederci Scotia, and soon it would be Arrivederci to an Irish team whose spirit was personified in Captain Mick McCarthy. England had reached the quarter-finals, where eventually they overcame Cameroon, but not without a few frights, judging by the state of the English press corps seating after the match. The semi-finals. Italy was still there and looking good. But were the tensions of the management-imposed sex ban starting to reveal themselves on the training ground? Argentina were there too, with the new, more compact Diego Maradona. West Germany. The team looked like champions. Franz Beckenbauer looked like Cliff Richard. And of course there was England. And Bobby Robson, inspiring the nation with his decisive comments. To the matches themselves. The result of the first semi-final saw wild celebrations break out all over Argentina. The result of the second semi-final saw similar scenes of joy break out all over Scotland. Before the England-West Germany clash, Bobby Robson had been whipping up nationalist pride with his awesome oratory. But with England's slight smattering of luck finally spent and the team out of the competition, Bobby still had the words to sum it all up. And so, as the dawn rises over Rome on the 8th of July 1990, there will be only one question left to be answered. Just who is John? And did he manage to catch the 316?